So here on Earth One, Kevin McCarthy's spectacular fall from the House speakership is what it looks like, right? A failure of McCarthy's, a failure of Republican governance. But in case you haven't heard, over on Earth Two, an entirely bizarre and fictional narrative is taking shape. Guess who Republicans are blaming? The Democrats for not saving Kevin McCarthy, who on Sunday smeared them for not shutting down the government, I think. Forget that the vote to oust McCarthy was started and cemented by Matt Gaetz and his own defectors in his own caucus. Republicans are actually arguing over on Earth Two that Democrats should have voted to save Kevin McCarthy. Now, of course, that's after he downplayed January 6th, resurrected Donald Trump almost single-handedly, and doubled back on multiple bipartisan legislative deals he entered into as leader. And after he spent the weekend trashing Democrats when they helped him cobble together that last-minute budget stopgap measure to prevent a government shutdown. Watch.
I wasn't sure it was going to pass. You want to know why? Because the Democrats tried to do everything they can not to let it pass. They did
Democrats were the ones who voted for this in a larger number than Republicans to keep the continuing resolution alive.
Did you watch the floor yesterday?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
90 Republicans voted against it.
Yeah, what's up is down, what's down is up for Kevin McCarthy. It's pretty lame and brazen to blame Democrats for the Republican caucus's failure to elect a leader, but that is where we are. And in what looks like retaliation for not saving McCarthy, 90 minutes after last night's vote, Republican interim Speaker Patrick McHenry ordered former Speaker Nancy Pelosi and former Democratic Majority Leader Steny Hoyer out of their congressional offices, saying they would be reassigned. Pelosi criticized the move, writing this, quote, with all of the important decisions that the new Republican leadership must address, which we are all eagerly awaiting, one of the first actions taken by the new Speaker was to order me to immediately vacate my office in the Capitol. Joining our coverage, NBC News correspondent Ali Vitale, back on Capitol Hill for us, writer-at-large for The Bulwark and an MSNBC political analyst, Tim Miller's here, and with me at the table, former Democratic Congressman Max Rose. Ali, first, bring us up to date on where we are today.
I'm going to give you the Earth One update because that's where I'm going to choose to live today. But the Earth One update is, as you say it, Nicole, which is that we're watching this temporary speaker in McHenry sort of settle some vendettas of the former speaker, McCarthy, doing what their explanation is on Earth Two, which is trying to retaliate against Democrats for not saving McCarthy's speakership. I think offices aside, the more interesting piece of this is the way that the Republican conference puts themselves back together. Because Democrats, at least the ones that I've spoken to, are not here to help save them still. And this is still a family matter, if you want to think about conferences and caucuses that way. I spent the morning talking with two of the men who are officially in the race now to become the next speaker, Jim Jordan and Steve Scalise. Both of them are making their pitches to their colleagues, at least the ones that are still left in town. They both, for example, made a stop at the Texas delegation's lunch, trying to each push their credentials of what they've done over the course of the last 8 months. For Scalise, it's the fact that he's been in leadership before. He's someone who controlled the floor schedule, was part of these conversations about what policies to push. Jim Jordan, of course, has been central on a lot of the oversight and investigations pieces of this. He's one of the leaders on the impeachment inquiry. He's someone who has been hawkish on border security. All of those are things that they're trying to sell to their conference. But I don't know that it's going to be an easy sell for either of these folks, especially when whoever comes next is really under the same threat of motion to vacate that McCarthy himself was. It lends to the question why anyone would want this job still, given the fact that the rules are as they are. And I've asked all of these folks that I've spoken to this morning, do you think you should change the rules? And they've dodged on that, in part because they know that this was a concession McCarthy had to make back in January to get the job in the first place. It really does leave them at an impasse. For people who might want to see this building get more functional after whoever the next speaker is elected, things are going to have to change that I'm not sure are going to change to do that.
What are your thoughts?
This is nuts. I mean, right now, you have these folks running for speaker, and their principal justification to their own caucus is I can appease the crazies because I'm crazy myself. after they saw Kevin McCarthy go down so quickly.
CTK, crazier than Kevin?
Well, the thing about Kevin is that what people were upset with him about, and this has been true for his entire time in Congress, wasn't that he's crazy, but that he was untrustworthy and a liar. So, he made this deal. Then he thought that people would forget. And they never ultimately did. And so when you don't unify your caucus with actual sheer force of ethics and morals, it won't last. Remember, Nancy Pelosi had a smaller margin than what Kevin McCarthy had. And she held the speakership for years and made it look easy. And then the first act that the new speaker engages in is not to address inflation. It's not to address issues of security. It's to kick people out of a back office. And when you go on the Capitol, okay, these are not grand offices that these people were in. These are tiny little hideaways that no one has even heard of. But nonetheless, they are so driven by petty grievance and vengeance that they think that's the type of politics that they should act with.